prehistoric monster who came from outer space, created by the Martians to destroy the human race. The FBI is helpless, its 20 stories tall. What can we do? Who can we call? Call Tobor, the Ape Man. Call Tobor, the Ape Man. Faster than a rocket, swifter than a jet. He's the mighty robot, he's the one to get. Call Tobor, the Ape Man. Quick, call Tobor, the mightiest robot of them all.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So now you know where I got my screen name from. That was Tobor the Eighth Man, which was called here in the United States. It ran from 1963 to 1966. And no, I did not see the original because it didn't hit U.S. shores until 1968, where I saw it in Cleveland, Ohio as a kid. We had two stations. There were UHF stations, with W61 and W43. And that's where you saw your after school stuff like Ultraman, this show, Johnny Sacco's Flying Robot, Kimber the White Lion. That's what you saw at school. Hanna-Barbera, Bugs Bunny, that stuff, and Popeye, that was saved for Saturdays only. So you come home and which is going to be on today? Ultraman, Johnny Sacco's Flying Robot. But Eighth Man was the first Japanese anime I ever watched. I loved it. It was a great show. From what I've read, the violence was toned down in the United States from what it did in Japan. The show was a little bit different. You know how they always have to change things when it comes here. Like in Japan, his name was Eight Man, not Tobor the Eighth Man. So they did that for American audience, try to get a wider audience. Of course, he also was in a lot of, manga, books and novels and stuff like that in Japan. He was very popular during that time. He had a lot of abilities. In one of the shows, you see how he created and he has a bat flying around and he mimics the bat. So now he has this sonic hearing. He had a few other things. He had little tricks up his sleeve. So I'm going to show you one right here.
Now imagine yourself anyone you wish. Okay. And you think of a face, your special plastic skin assumes the appearance you imagine.
You see that? So the three faces that he changed into were at the time. So I'm assuming this is around 1963. This was an introduction episode. So at the time you had Nikita Khrushchev, who was the premier of Russia at the time. You had, I don't know who the Japanese premier was at the time. And then you saw that was supposed to be John F. Kennedy, who was the president of the United States. So, I mean, he had that kind of ability. Also, in the United States at the time, you couldn't show cigarette commercials doing children's programming, which only made sense. But he did have an ability to, not ability, but he used to use these things called energy boosters. And I'm going to run that right now, let you see what they were, Kolov's abilities and stuff. Here we go.
Come and see me because I'm the only person that can help you. I am Professor Genius, and I will always be ready to assist you. But nothing should go wrong if you follow the instructions I will give you. I will call you Eighth Man because you are my eighth experiment and greatest contribution to mankind.
Eighth Man it is, then.
Very good. Now we must give you a new name and face for the outside world. There they will know you as Tobor. That's robot spelled backwards. You have created an excellent face for yourself. These look like cigarettes, but they are super energy boosters. Use one if you ever need it. Always keep them with you, and if you need more, just let me know. Use them only when you need extra power.
I understand.
Remember, your power must be a secret between you and me. This knowledge in the wrong hands could cause great trouble in the world. Good luck, Eighth Man.
Thank you, Professor.
At the end, you saw how he runs. I used to love watching that when I was a kid because he was running so fast that he turned invisible. So that was one of the things he could do. He had super strength, super hearing, all the routine stuff. Now, how he became Eighth Man was he used to be a policeman, and he was in a shootout with some gangsters. They killed him, and that doctor, which he called himself Dr. Genius, but in Japan, his name was Dr. Tanana, I think, and they changed it for American audience. But he turned him into a cyborg, and that's how he became Eighth Man. In Japan, the deal is that the reason why they called him Eighth Man because in Japan they had 7 prefectures, which is the districts in Japan, and he was equivalent to 1 prefecture, so he became the 8th prefecture, which is Eighth Man. So I mean, it's a lot of things that got changed when it came to the United States, which is okay. That's how they do stuff. But if you're ever wondering, that's how I got my screen name, from Tobor the Eighth Man. I know it's an obscure cartoon, and most of you probably never even seen it. It's on YouTube. You can watch a couple episodes here and there, but I loved it, and that's why I chose that name, because it's I just love it. So, like I said, we'll be talking about this guy right here also. That's another one of my favorites. The Japanese, everyone knows they do anime like no one else, and it influenced a lot of American and just artists and cartoon makers all over the world. I know it's a short video. It's just my introduction. This is the first time I've ever done, well, I did have an old video, but that was like 5 years ago, and I'm getting back into it. I'm going to be covering a lot of stuff. So if you like this video, give me a like. If you want to subscribe to my station, subscribe. I'll try to put up content as much as I can, as quickly as I can. I'm going to be covering a lot of things. I'm going to be covering B-movies. I'm going to be covering cartoons. I'm going to be covering TV shows from the 60s and stuff that I grew up with and like. And a lot of you probably have never seen it, never heard of it, but I'm going to try to cover it. Later on, it's just going to be recordings, maybe start out slow, and then I'll have guests on. I got a bunch of, guys that I know, and if you're watching this, they know who they are. And I'll get them on here, and we'll start talking about some of this stuff and what they remember about it, how much they enjoyed growing up watching this stuff. And maybe, you'll learn a little bit about stuff you didn't know about, and maybe you'll go out and look for it. So that's going to be it for right now. Have a great evening, and thank you for watching.